Hello and welcome to the Football and Grits Bowl Pod Stravaganza.
Bowl Pod Stravaganza. Okay, you
I
nailed
like it. I think we're going to
Yes.
go with that. Brody, you'll have
It's
to
a
excuse
bowl
me.
of grits.
Yeah, that's a good point. Brody, you'll have to excuse me because I don't know what the signature food of Indiana is, so I can't make
Pork
a
tenderloin, breaded pork
All right,
tenderloin,
so
like larger than your
football and
face.
pork tenderloin. Brody, I think actually we can't let Greg Sankey's office find out about this, but you're recording an SEC podcast in the state of Indiana.
I did feel like a traitor recording this in Big Ten country. I did. I am here for my nephew's birthday, as you can see, different surroundings. First birthday, but I apologize. But yes, football and pork tenderloin. Let's do it.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I'm still in SEC country, unlike
Thank you for holding it down.
Judas Manziel over here. So, Brody, we got a lot to get to today. We're gonna look through every bowl game, from the best to the worst. We will pick them against our better judgment against the spread. Shane Beamer getting a little defensive about his offensive coordinator hire. We got to talk about this.
Yeah.
But first, obviously the SEC lost Mike Leach this week. All of college football lost Mike Leach this week. And, of course, his family as well. Our condolences to them. I joined Ari Wasserman and Andy Staples for the Andy Staples show this week. We went long on a Mike Leach tribute show. And I think what he meant to the sport as a figure, as a master tactician, as a trailblazer, and of course just as an entertaining figure, is really hard to sum up in a hour-long podcast, but we tried.
I think you guys did a great job of it. Yeah.
And so if you want more on that, go back and listen to that. I think we tried to not make it too sad because we thought that knowing Mike Leach, that's probably not what he would want.
No, you guys highlighted the fun of it and the brilliance of it. I thought it was a good pod. And I think there is also like a little bit of, I mean, this is all sad, but a little bit of like solace, I think, in knowing that the biggest question when he took that job, right, was, can this all work in the SEC? Can it work? And I'm not like this. There's no good in this, but there's something that, like, you know what, man, he went out and he showed it could work. They went 8-4 this year. It was a really good state team. Like all the last 3 years, they've been solid. So I think there's a little something that, like, hey, man, his legacy is here to stay. As you guys put out so well throughout the whole pod, it's here to stay because it filters into all of football. It's everywhere now, but also it's here to stay because he showed the purest form of it can work in the SEC.
Yeah, I think that's my two takeaways from this week and just thinking about Mike Leach is one, most importantly, he showed us to be yourself and to not be what you think you should be because of whatever you do or whatever people around you act like. Nobody personified that more than Mike Leach. And of course, like you mentioned, his influence from high school football to the NFL, I think there's a case to be made that Mike Leach was more influential than any coach in the history of the game. I think
it's a real argument.
You can make that case. So anyway, thank you to Mike Leach. I'm sorry to his family. I'm sorry to college football fans. It's just a massive loss. I was texting with some friends earlier, and it's hard to even make it feel like it's real because he was in our lives and in the sport just so recently that it's hard to wrap your head around.
Even the reaction to it does feel like it's coming from a place of numbness. It's just like, wait, what? Like, this doesn't, like, to your point, it was so sudden and so out of nowhere, something that wasn't even remotely like in the path of possibility in our minds that, I think there's a numbness to it that, like, I think in a few months when we settle down, it'll be even stranger, just being like, wait, Mississippi State, is not going to be led by the Pirate, but he swung his sword, man.
He did swing his sword. I never got to go down to Key West and spend some time with him, but
it seems like everyone has, man, that's a life well lived.
Well, the year off, he seems to invite every reporter down there. So I think, I have never been to Key West, but in the event that I make it down there, how far is that from Miami? I don't know. I'm going to the Orange Bowl. Is it pretty far?
I actually don't know. I won't even pretend to lie to you.
This isn't football and geography, so I'll look it up on a map later. But I may have to pop down there and see the Mike Leach stool and appreciate Key West because
football and grits takes Key West, man. They're worse pods.
Exactly. So anyway, go listen to that pod. I think we tried to do his life service. Let's get to Shane Beamer. Brody,
Yes.
It's the holiday season. Brody's been busy. Yesterday, so we're recording this on Thursday. I believe this was on Wednesday. Shane Beamer hired Dow Loggins, who, Brody, I don't know if you know this or not. I witnessed Dow Loggins like half of his career production as a holder walk-on quarterback at Arkansas in like 2003. I remember him.
Did
well
that prepare
as a
you
player.
for writing about his career as an SEC OC?
It did, I think.
Yeah.
I thought he scored a touchdown on a fake once. It might have been a 2-point conversion. In my mind, I remembered him scoring a touchdown. I looked it up just before the show. I don't think he actually scored a touchdown.
Which we should keep that in mind then, because I feel like he's somebody who's going to have a play ready to make sure a center or a long snapper can score. Yeah.
For whatever it's worth, he was a rock solid holder for Arkansas and has since gone on to a coaching career that's taken him to a lot of places. And now it has taken him to South Carolina.
Yeah.
The natives were a little restless with Marcus Satterfield earlier this year. And they were, I think people, I don't think anyone's going to throw Dow Loggins a parade necessarily. And Shane Beamer this week took offense to that. Brody has not seen this clip, by the way.
Yes, this is going to be a blind react from me.
If you have not, it's fantastic. I read your article, Gene. Here's what Shane had to say about his new OC hire.
People that are in the profession know about Dow Loggins. So I read your article this morning, Gene, and that's great. I'm sure in your research you did more than just say, well, I haven't heard of that guy before. Let me see what his stats said. Oh, well, he had a run as a coordinator in the NFL that maybe wasn't as successful that he wanted, so he must not be very good. Surely you did more research than that, Gene. And it's not just Gene, it's a lot of people. So surely everybody that wants to critique every hire that we make here, I'm sure you guys knew that Dow Loggins turned down a coordinator job in the SEC last year, correct? Everybody knew that, right? I'm sure you guys know that I'm the 4th SEC head coach that's reached out to him in the last 2 weeks about coming to work for him. So we were fortunate to hire Dow Loggins because there were a lot of other people that were interested in hiring Dow Loggins as well. I'm sure you guys reached out to Bill Parcells, who Dow worked for. Anybody? I'm sure the people on the outside, all the experts on social media, I'm sure they called Sean Payton, arguably one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time, to talk to Sean Payton about Dow. I'm sure you reached out to Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. All those guys are guys that Dow worked for. Did you call Connor Shaw? Alshon Jeffrey. Dow coached Alshon Jeffrey with the Chicago Bears. And I'll keep my conversation with Alshon private, but it was pretty dang special what he told me.
Wow.
I read your article, Gene. I'm going to start saying that.
First off, yeah, I'm going to just comment that on every article you write for the next 6 weeks at least. Just I read your article.
I don't know Gene Sapikoff at all, really. South Carolina. But do you know him, Brody?
I do not, but I mean, he has a good reputation.
I'm aware of his existence. I don't know him personally, but
congrats on being a meme, Gene.
Yeah. Gene. Listen, we've talked ad nauseum about Shane Beamer, and I think people.
But that encapsulates it.
Perfectly. It is. This is the Shane Beamer Rorschach test, because if you hate Shane Beamer, that's only going to make you hate him more. And if you like Shane Beamer, like especially for his constituents, the South Carolina fans. Especially people that, are like, well, I trust my head coach who through 2 seasons, it's a results business, has probably earned some of that trust.
Trust him, yeah.
You're in. Now we'll see. Again, this is a results business. So if the Dow Loggins hire works, Shane Beamer, that press conference is going to be brought up one way or the other. If it doesn't work, I'm sure that'll be brought up again by the detractors.
And there was like 10 seconds in there to your point of like, I think I might hate this. Like, there was a minute there where I'm like, I think this is making me angry that he's doing this. And then I really kept thinking about like, no. This is it's the theme we talk about with Shane Beamer, right? Is like, he says the quiet part out loud, but not in like the douchey, some people are just like, oh, he says the quiet part. And it's like kind of this weird, like, no, it's just like, he's not afraid to be like, no, you guys don't know. Like, he's good. And I first off, think about if you're a staff member, how many points is going to win for him in the future. Like, I would want to work for this guy because I know he's going to fight for me in a press conference. But still, just like, I went from hating it to this is the best thing ever because he's just like, guys, you don't know. And by the way, he's actually helping the reporters in that rant too. Like he is helping the reporters and telling them, guys, here's what you need to know. So it's not all just like toxic. And I am here for it. Tip of the cap to you, Shane Beamer.
And we're leading off our Bull Pod extravaganza with South Carolina's OC hire. So listen. Without that, I don't know. I think we might note it and say, well, we'll see how it goes. But,
we would not have noted it. I feel very confident we would not have noted it. So, yes, you won the news cycle. So, anyway,
a hat tip to Shane Beamer, who makes this sport more entertaining and who probably scored some points with the people whose opinions he cares about.
Do you think he'd want to be an executive producer of Football and Grits, just considering like how much of a large part of it he's become?
Only if I can establish. I read your article, Gene. As a drop to start the show in honor
every
of his
day. Yes. Absolutely. He owns a lot of real estate on Football and Grits, and I appreciate that.
He does. So very entertaining. And again, it's a results business. We'll see how it goes. Time will tell. I think you can what you want to do and conceptually, offensively, not to sound like a coach, Brody. Comes out of execution. If you got guys who can run it, you can do some good things.
Yes.
There are some schemes that are terrible and will never work. I might have covered one of them at Tennessee in the Jeremy Pruitt era. But we'll see. NFL concepts have come to college. I think that's a recruiting pitch you can do, especially if you don't have like the Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, pedigree. But we're seeing this now, like Kentucky right now brings back Liam Cohen, and our colleague Max Olson reports that the leader for Devin Leary's services, Kentucky.
That would be a really good fit.
There you go.
Actually,
I think when you're recruiting the portal, where guys are, hey, I got 1 or 2 years and I'm to the league. Like, what do we got here? Like there's a lot of dropping of the facade when you're recruiting portal kids versus high school kids, where you're
because they've seen it. Yeah, they've been through.
Yeah, they're like, when you're recruiting high school kids, you're giving academic, presentations and all this, and like, what do when it's a portal? Can you get me to the league? What am I in?
I have one chance left. Can you not screw it up? Yeah, exactly. So I think you're right.
I think when you have that, we'll see. So Brody, without further ado, let's get to the bowls. Now, I personally use an advanced metric that I refer to as the Doobie Index, which is do you want to be there index. The T is silent for the record.
I have to wait. I'll wait. Continue.
I'm a big believer that the team that wants to be there and is happy to be there and is still invested in their season will fare better on the field. I don't know what the advanced numbers tell us on this, but I got to look at we're going to be looking at some of the Doobie Index numbers over the course of this Bowl Pod extravaganza, and I think they're going to correlate strongly to what we see on the field, Brody.
I read your article.
I'm not going to spoil.
I read your article this morning, Gene.
So good. Well done, John. Now, I have to say, before we get into the list, I will not spoil my disagreements, but
okay,
you and I are very aligned thinkers, I think, for the most part. When we disagree, it's like a part of something we disagree about. I mean, we agree on. I looked at your list of your entertainment rankings and your watchability. I am shocked how much I disagree. Like,
okay.
Now, there's some obvious ones I agree with, but there are some that I am just blown away by how much I disagree with. So I'm looking forward to this. Yeah.
So we ranked these by watchability and how much, me personally, when I look down the ACC Bowl schedule, the little tingle in my tongue that I feel when I see them on the schedule and how badly I want to watch these games. Number one, Brody, it should come as no surprise.
Yes.
This is going to be one of those types of games where it looks like they're playing a different sport because of all the talent on the field. Georgia and Ohio State. No Jackson Smith and Jigba for Ohio State. Controversial decision to shut it down this year, to say the least. I think that will be something that is brought up. But
wasn't it okay? I need to really quickly ask. We don't spend time on it, but wasn't it kind of up in the air if he'd actually be like healthy enough anyway? So isn't this more of like a Bosa situation than like a?
there's a lot of buzz about how serious the injury is
Okay,
and how
fair.
much
I'm
it
not.
is.
We don't have to dive into it, but
I'm not his doctor, and whether or not it's fair or not, or true or not, there are certainly people who believe that it's, if you needed to go, you could go. So that's an interesting wrinkle. Certainly, Georgia has the DBs to slow down Ohio State's offense. Georgia has been the best team all season. The knock on Ohio State all year, well, not all year, somewhat all year, but certainly again with the Michigan game when they lose the exact same game is this team soft? Has Ryan Day sucked out the toughness in this program? Georgia's going to be that test. Now, Georgia can either in one game reconfirm all that and put some pretty serious doubts into what the future of Ohio State's program is under Ryan Day. But if Ohio State holds its own at the line of scrimmage, finds a way to win this game, and gets to the national championship game after being run off of its home field by Michigan, you can flip that narrative in a hurry. And, Brody,
the narrative just disappears at that point. Yeah.
It does. And you might get a shot at Michigan again, which...
I mean, if Ohio State wins this game, they are the favorite to win the national title. Like, just
unless they play Michigan. I don't think Vegas is going to favor them over Michigan. I don't think
no, they will. No, there's already been some things saying
so.
that if they met again, it will be like a 2-point favorite.
Interesting. Maybe you're right.
By the way, quick credit to you. Actually, in Atlanta, I said we were debating what Georgia Ohio State spread would be, and I said about 3.5, 4, and you said 7.5, and I'm pretty sure the immediate open was 7.5. So I will just give you
there you go.
Tip of the cap, sir. But I'm saying tip of the cap too much, but. I mean, this one, there's no disagreement with me on. Like, this is, in a lot of ways, this is the perfect semifinal. I really, I actually believe that because one, start with two massive programs that don't really see each other. So, I mean, let's start there. That's a win. But two,
I don't even know when the last time these teams
I can't remember. Yeah, I really can't.
I'm sure it was in like the 60s or something.
Yeah, I don't think it's been any time in the 2000s. And if I'm wrong, please tell us. But
yeah.
Georgia, and then you have a team that Georgia is the best team. We all agree that. And we want to watch Georgia, but the problem with Georgia is there's not many games left that they could play that would intrigue us because we kind of are reaching a point where we think they're just better than everybody. And I think this is perfect because Ohio State is one of the very few teams in all of the sport that talent-wise match up. Like they, in theory, match up. They are not as good, and I do not think they're as good. But that makes it even better. The
talent gap is not as wide.
Yeah, the talent gap is very thin. And on the other end of that, it's like Ohio State's intriguing because it's a team that they're not as good as they're supposed to be. And there are all these questions. And there is this what's going on, how can you keep getting out tough against Michigan, all that stuff. So it's like it's the perfect semifinal because in theory, Georgia should win by 10, and you feel pretty good about that. But Ohio State could totally win. Or if Ohio State gets whooped, now we have this massive other narrative of guys, we're officially there. Ohio State's officially a problem. This is as juicy for me as it gets from a narrative point of view. Also, thank you, Paul Welch, for coming in.
I knew a commenter was going to come in.
I know. This is why I need you guys.
You can ask for people to comment, and they will not comment, and get one thing wrong, and it's like 8 comments.
Like Leroy Jenkins. Yeah. Georgia and Ohio State, played 1993 Citrus Bowl. UGA won 21-4. It was. I was gonna say, didn't Herbstreit play in that? He did. Wow, I feel good that I knew that. Kirk Herbstreit's last game. Okay. But no argument.
By the way, it's worth noting, I should say, before we start, I have this conversation every year. The sponsors are not names of the bowls, guys. If you want me to say the sponsor of a bowl game, please, I'll give you my address. You can send me a check, and we will refer to the sponsors of the bowls.
Wait, okay. What about ones that the sponsor is the only name for the
bowl? Then we don't have a choice.
Isn't it just the Duke's Mayo Bowl? I want to.
Well, I was going to ask you actually if you know what ReliaQuest is, because there's a ReliaQuest bowl.
That one actually makes. I don't get angry often, as you know. That thing called just the ReliaQuest Bowl, it hurts my soul. I'm angry about it. I refuse to ever call it that. I'm just because that one that's Tampa, right?
I believe so. I could be wrong. I had to Google.
Yeah, it's the old Outback Bowl.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I'm just right. I'm just calling that the bowl in Tampa now. I am so sorry, ReliaQuest. You can buy me out, so you can send me money, and I am easily bought. But for now, I'm not calling it that.
I'm sad we don't have the bloomin' onion coconut shrimp matchup because I have, Brody. When I was in Dallas, actually, we lived very close to an Outback. I was not going to go drive across the city, but I have redeemed my winning free coconut shrimp or a
Oh,
free Blue Money
absolutely.
on like 3 occasions at an Outback.
I think I confessed to you in Atlanta. Do you remember what I confessed to you?
I
That
don't remember.
I believe, yeah, I spent my 22nd birthday. I just moved to Jackson, Mississippi. I've been there like a week, and I didn't really know anyone yet, so I didn't like have anyone to go hang out with my birthday. And I just got Outback takeout for myself and just ate Outback on my birthday alone in my crappy Jackson apartment. I love Outback deeply. Bloomin' Onion's like my top 6 favorite like death meal foods. So yes,
I can only eat like 3 bites of it because I've eaten too much of it, and I know how I feel when I eat too much of it. So, but those first 2 or 3 bites of the Bloomin' Onion, elite, absolutely elite.
Oh, every bite's elite. This is like, I'm glad this is our disagreement pod. No, every bite's great. There's no bite where I'm like, I've never stopped. I only stop eating a Bloomin' Onion when either someone else is with me and they help me finish it. First off, thank you, Catherine B. Team Bloomin' Onion forever. Or like somebody tells me, Brody, you have to stop. Like there's no, this is actually not a joke. I go to Bloomin' Onion and I often my meal is an appetizer because I know the Bloomin' Onion is really 70% what I'm eating. And then the rest is like, I'll get the wings or I'll get something like the quesadillas, and that's fun. But I'm here for the Bloomin' Onion.
Matthew C says the Outback has the most underrated wings. Are these the Kookaburra wings?
The Kookaburra wings, Matthew.
I gotta say, I've never had the wings at
I get
Outback.
them every time.
My wife loves the cheese fries and the steak salad, which I think are 2 very overpriced options. I like the coconut shrimp. The orange marmalade on the coconut shrimp is
they're good shrimp. But yes, Matthew, I could not agree more, and I'm so sorry we're down this rabbit hole. But I deeply love their wings. Like it's a perfect seasoning. They're cooked well. They're genuinely juicy, which wings are not always.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of their wings. Thank you, Matthew.
Well, I guess I got to try these. Brody, we've been hitting on this all year, and I think I'm going to do it again. I think when this Georgia team is challenged, they rise to the occasion, and I think they do that against this Ohio State team. I like Georgia and the points, or minus the points rather. I think Georgia wins this thing comfortably. Ohio State can obviously compete, but I think we're going to get A+ Georgia. I think we're going to get. I don't think Ohio State can cover the tight ends. I think they can move the ball. Vaughn says, "I thought Andy's show was the food show." Well.
Andy does not have a monopoly on food, okay?
Also, we do have food in the name, to be fair. So.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yes, no one's eating Staples.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you could, I guess, but that's going to have to be removed by surgery later. Yes. But no, I think that's what we're getting, and I think Ohio State over time is Ohio State soft. I don't know that I would say that they're soft.
I think that's unfair.
There was a lot of CJ Stroud hate late in the season that I was kind of like, I mean, he's pretty good. Like, he's still a really good player.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty good. Well, I'm one of them. I've been since like before, but I've been consistent on this. This wasn't late. I think since like week 1, you and I talked about this. Like, I don't think he's bad. I think he throws a perfect football. You know what I mean? Like, there's guys who are great throwers. They are incredible throwers. Like, he reminds me of Jared Goff in a lot of ways, which is why I've been saying that for a year. Then I saw somebody tweet that, like a draft expert tweet that. And I'm like, nice. But
I think it's hard to tell because his receivers have been so good.
But that's
it's
the
almost
thing.
Like, I don't know.
But that's why this year makes it concerning. I understood the draft stock because he does make some amazing throws. But it's like, it's Ryan Day is a brilliant offensive coordinator that had like in the best receivers, and you just had artificially wide open receivers. And he's played 3 games this season, really. Penn State, Notre Dame, and obviously Michigan, where you had talent matchups and you had teams that knew how to defend you and like took the top off could control the top of the defense and basically made you play underneath in a box. And every time I've ever seen that happen to CJ Stroud, he doesn't really look like he knows what he's doing. He's indecisive. Like he's not great with pressure, which that's not that's not terrible, but the rest doesn't come together. I love Georgia in this game for that reason. So I'm with you. If anything, I kind of like Ohio State's defense this year. I don't think Ohio State's defense is that bad. A Michigan game was really ugly. The rest look good. So I don't know where I'm really at with that, but if anything, I think it's going to be kind of low scoring. But
it feels like a 31-17 kind of thing to me.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Where like Georgia's not embarrassing them, but it never feels like Ohio State is going to.
It never is. Yeah.
Kind of like Georgia the entire
Notre
game
Dame
could
3
still
years
be like,
ago.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Or Georgia could be like, we're still good. We're fine. And Georgia's fine the whole game.
I completely agree.
So that was my number 1. My number 2, I will be there, Brody.
Ooh.
The Orange Bowl. Tennessee and Clemson. Tennessee. a 6.5-point underdog. This will be the future QB bowl. I felt like all year Clemson, Dabo Swinney was too loyal to DJ Uyunglele. Kate Klubnik didn't look like a world beater, but
he's dynamic.
He looked like the better guy, and he looks certainly the upside. We kind of know what DJ is. So you got Kate Klubnik's going to be, it's his show after the ACC championship. Joe Milton, we're going to call this an audition, Brody, because this is a big stage against a good defense. I think if you're Tennessee, you are not all in on the portal, but you're keeping an eye on it. You're saying, what's out there? Maybe making a call or two. What do you think? Because you have Joe Milton, who, throws an unbelievable ball. The accuracy concerns are very, very real with him.
Yep.
I am very skeptical that you can fix that. Nico Iamaleava probably not going to be ready. Maybe he is. Maybe he's walking in day one, able to challenge that job. But if Milton can blow up here and have a huge game, you feel a lot better going into the offseason. And maybe you regret that come fall when he's overthrowing guys again. Maybe you do. Or maybe he's your guy. Either way, I think you're going to learn something about Tennessee here. Now, no Cedric Tillman, no Jalen Hyatt, no Hendon Hooker. But, Brody, the guys that are still there, off the charts on the Doobie Index.
I think you're right about that. Charts. They are high on the Doobie Index. I don't think
Clemson was waiting to get back in the playoff. They're sitting here in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tennessee.
Like, why are we not in the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah. This was the Tennessee is back season. Like, the Vols are officially back. And they've looked like it all year, and I still have talent. I think you look at, we could have a Squirrel White breakout game here. We could see some things.
I think you might be too close to this one.
This is
my first major disagreement with you.
No,
I think this game
I'm intrigued, but give me the Tigers.
Ooh, okay. Interesting. Yeah. So I'm not saying this is uninteresting. I think this would be 6th on my list. I disagree with this in your number 2 ranking. Because one, the obvious part, right? Like, most of the big names aren't playing. But even that, it's just I've seen these teams. I don't know. There's a little bit of staleness for me with bowls to some extent. It's how much am I interested to see a team? How much do I want answers? And how much I'm all right, these seasons played out as they are. We have our answers. It is what it is. And I'm not there's nothing I'm really hoping to find out. The future QB angle is very interesting. So I think it's a good point.
Milton Unleashed, Klubnik Unleashed. And
these are two kind of close teams. I think it's going to be competitive. It's a good game.
I don't know if you've heard this, Brody, but Tennessee's secondary is not great. And Cade Klubnik, he can sling it. I like what I've seen out of Klubnik. He's got to grow up. Yeah. But I love what I've seen out of him this year. And
but I think that's
incredible in the ACC championship.
I think it's a little stale for me, just considering these two teams have they've been the spotlight all year and then kind of it just didn't work out. So not that high for me, but I am interested and I want to see Joe Milton do well. I'm here for that. So
yeah, really good kid.
In Tennessee, you would think the Doobie Index, I love, by the way, you would think Tennessee is an absolute I want to ruin them mode, because I actually think I like Tennessee in the points. Maybe buy a half and get that 7. Why not, baby? What's $15 more or whatever your price is? Who cares?
I'm going against the Doobie Index here, but I do think ultimately Klubnik just too much on the secondary. I think Clemson's going to move the ball. I think they can hold up against I think they can do what Georgia did, what Pitt did, take away the running game and make Milton throw it.
I believe you're right.
And I think I like Clemson for that reason. So we'll see about this ball game.
Yeah, I like being contested.
Now, Brody, my third game, the Sugar Bowl. Alabama, Kansas State. This is one I feel like you're going to disagree with, but let me walk you through this.
I'm okay with this one.
This is an interesting Alabama situation. We don't have any official opt-outs. I was at the Nagurski Awards. I don't know when it was. Time is meaningless.
2 weeks ago.
I've been everywhere. I tried to talk to Will Anderson. I tried to say, hey, Will, you're going to play? You're going to play? He's I got to figure it out. Will Anderson's probably not going to play. Bryce Young, probably not going to play. We can say that with reasonable certainty.
That's a bummer. That drops it. Yeah.
Now, but I think here's the thing, bro. I think we have to reconfigure what bowl season is to us.
No argument. I want to hear your thoughts on this. But yeah,
this is the spring scrimmage that we've been clamoring for that we will never get. this is what we get to see the future of these programs, especially programs where Alabama is right now, where they're not happy to be there. So I kind of get that. We already, Catherine B notes, we already saw K-State absolutely maul LSU with 35 scholarship players last year. I ran into Colin Klein, their OC in San Antonio, like a week later, and I was like, I think I was like, Colin, because I covered Colin a million years ago, and I was like, Colin, I was kind of asking, like, you guys kind of knew that was coming, didn't you? He's like, I mean,
as Catherine B points out in the comment, but that John Trey Kirkland tutty, though, that game, which to your kind of point here, that game was just about vibes for LSU. Like, nobody went into that game thinking like, LSU can win this. That game was about like, this is a disaster. Interim coach, let's just go have fun. And yeah, Kansas State destroyed him. And by the way, nice indicator to your point, though, even though it's not like we both know LSU was a joke that game, but like, sometimes bowls can be your little indicator of the future a little bit. It's kind of like, all right.
So I'm very intrigued to see what Alabama does at quarterback, because I think you have a really difficult situation with the Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson thing. I think you got to play them both. I want to see them both. But Alabama's Doobie Index on a scale of 1 to 10 is like a 0.4 in this ball game.
It's really bad.
K-State's like a 7.6.
But that's why it's not going to be that high for me. It's not that Alabama isn't like their vibes, because you're right. I don't care. It's not a deal breaker that their Doobie's low, and I'm glad that I'm saying this with a straight face as a real metric now. But it is a good way to just like quickly say what we're trying to say. But like, it's the idea that this would have been really fun. It would have been really fun to see if Kansas State can match up. Like, that would have been awesome, because I think we're both high on Kansas State. We both think like they went from like underrated to overrated because they're underrated to like now officially underrated because you once considered them overrated. I think like they're just a good team, and I would have loved to watch this. And now it just feels flat. It's still high up. It's still in the top half, but it feels flat because it's like a team that should be fighting their tail off against someone that's like, even if they win, it's going to be like, well, they didn't really have it. I do agree. I do want to see the young Bama pieces. I do want to see the future, and I want to see Kansas State. Like, yeah, I probably like the Kansas State plus 3.5. I probably do.
Big night for Deuce Vaughn, K-State money line, all the way here.
I think we're together on that.
Here.
This is like 7th on my list now.
I mean, this is going to be listen, I know every program hates when you beat a team and they're like, well, they didn't really want to be there. But like, this is Alabama. Come on, guys. Like, you don't come to Alabama to play in New Year's 6 games.
I'm not saying that, but it does hurt my enjoyment of the game. Is that fair?
I will expect Kansas State to win this game. I will pat them on the back. I will say, good game, Kansas State, when they win. And I will also acknowledge that I don't think they were all that fired up about tackling a tiny rolling bowling ball that is Deuce Vaughn 30 times when he just gets pounded the rock. So
yeah, I think like it is fair to both acknowledge that they will deserve credit for winning it, but it just then can't be used in like July as like part of your argument for Kansas. Is that like, I think that's the right middle ground. It can't be used as how good they are, but it's like, yeah, good for you.
And the conference strength argument has always been stupid based on bowls. It's even stupider now.
This is like,
we just can't. Now
it's normally like the second best in one conference playing the 6th in another, but then when that second best team beats it, it's like, see, Big Ten's better. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, like I do think Michigan's better than Mississippi State. Like, what? Yeah, I do. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I want to see the future of the quarterback spot. That's the only interesting thing about Alabama. I need to see more from Jalen Milroe throwing the ball. And I haven't seen anything out of Ty Simpson, who obviously was a 5-star recruit, big time guy. We're gonna learn a little bit about Bama. If Alabama wins this game, I'm gonna call my shot here. If Alabama wins this game, it's because Ty Simpson has won the starting job in the fall. That's why they win this game. He lights them up.
I mean, this is not SEC news necessarily, but just because I know we have several LSU listeners in here. Transfer port D2 All-American tight end Kyle Morlock just committed to Florida State. I know LSU was really hoping to get him, so I know Catherine will be disappointed, but it's a big get for Florida State. But anyway, continue.
Good. Godspeed to our portal prince, Max Olson. I don't know how he keeps track of all this stuff.
A lot of amphetamines, I would think. Yeah,
probably. But the guys from below. I mean, he talks to a lot of recruiting coordinators. I know that, but like, it's so many guys. And it's
for me, it's like I want to know his tweet deck situation. I want to know like because that has to be 70% of this, right? Like obviously he's in touch with people, but to know each tweet. Like,
Yeah, on
how do
Portal
you
Day, I
know
told him.
to even notice the tweet of the third string D lineman out of UTEP? Like, I'm just like, how? But he's the first person to tweet that out. And I'm just like, what are your tweet deck settings?
I don't know. That's a good question. But I did tell Max, I said, Max, I want you to know that I've given you this honor on Portal Day. I have done this for excluding some reporting strategies, which I will not share on the pod. I have turned tweet alerts on maybe one or two other times in my life.
Ooh.
And I said, Max, it's Portal Day. I've turned tweet alerts on for you. I want you to know that I've given you this honor. Please do not abuse it. I have not turned them off. So props to our colleague Max
That is
Olson.
a huge compliment. That is
I know. I
big,
listen, Max.
that's big.
Every time you tweet, it's going directly to my phone. So thank you, Max.
I have a very short list, and it's like I used to. I have Bruce on, for our colleague Bruce Feldman, but I especially had him on because he was so tied in with LSU during the Ogeron years. So and that's like, but I can't turn it off. He's still breaking most of the big news. So I'm like, Bruce, you are forever in my alerts. But
yes. All right, my number 4 is the Irish against the Gamecocks.
I think this is like honestly my 2 or 3. I'm
excited about this game. This is gonna be a good game. I think Notre Dame certainly.
It's two unsexy teams.
It is,
but they're so interesting in their kind of unsexiness.
Where does Notre Dame rank in the talent rankings? I actually don't know the answer to this
I don't know the answer.
I would assume like right
10
outside the
range.
top 10.
So yeah, you would think somewhere in there.
South Carolina's 19th. I know that. So the gap's not huge. No Marshawn Lloyd. He is in the portal for South Carolina. I presume he's not playing. That's a big loss. But Brody, Gamecocks, Doobie Index, they're into it.
High Doobie Index.
All in. Notre Dame, I am very skeptical.
I'm curious what Gene is going to pick.
Marcus Freeman has Catherine Beals, no Jaheim Bell. Also, it's a big loss for them. Really, really good player. He had a huge, if I recall, he had a huge bowl game last year, like 8 catches, 90 yards, something like that. Anyway, so that's a problem. Marcus Freeman righted the ship after a rough start, but give me the Gamecocks in this one, Brody. I think the Gamecocks get it done here. I think this is going to be a Doobie Index referendum, and I think we see similar to last year with North Carolina. I think South Carolina was a 10-point underdog in that game, if I'm not mistaken, and they won it outright. Give me the Gamecocks outright here.
So, yeah, we don't have to go into big depth of this one. It's just interesting to me. Like, it's just two teams that I feel like are in similar but also very opposite zones in a lot of ways, and I'm just interested. But I think I like Notre Dame here. I think Marcus Freeman, like, he doesn't need this, but at the same time, like, he isn't that kind of like, what's this? It seemed like it's in the right direction, but it started so bad. Let's not forget in last year's bowl game, they got off to like this, 14-0, like dominant start. It was like a narrative Super Bowl because it was like one half, it was a narrative of like Marcus Freeman is fixing it. And then it was like they just unbelievable collapse. And it's like Marcus Freeman's not ready to be a head coach, and it's neither. But but I think he's going to be locked in. This is obviously probably going to be important to him. I think they're probably playing for their 10th win, right? Like, and I think there's going to be.
That sounds right.
And Notre Dame is probably more talented. Obviously, South Carolina is in its pieces. I will take Notre Dame and lay the 2.5. But it's a fun game. I'm all in on this one.
We can't all be Marshall, Brody, I guess. With Texas Bowl, I looked at the Doobie numbers on this, and I'm calling it a draw
tough,
because. Because I think when you have Texas Tech, Joey McGuire building there, I think you've got some upward trajectory.
You would think any Joey McGuire team has a decent Doobie.
Yeah, well, one would think, depending on the situation. But Texas Tech, one of the least entitled fan bases. Everything they get, it feels like they scrapped and clawed for. They don't have a lot of games where they're like, we don't care about this game. Well, you don't see that a lot with Texas Tech. So I think they'll be in good shape. Ole Miss, meanwhile, even coming off of last year's Sugar Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, we haven't seen a lot of Ole Miss opt-outs. It's hard to keep track of some of these guys. Not a lot of Ole Miss opt-outs. Yeah, and the biggest thing is you keep Lane. If they didn't have Lane, Ole Miss's Doobie Index would have cratered. But
isn't it still low? Like, this was a team that was 7-0, and then they like finished 8-4. It's flat.
Maybe
it's like a team full of transfers, which isn't a negative. But it's just,
there's no question about that. But
I just feel like it's like let's go play the Texas Bowl. Like, I think it's two teams like meeting. To your point, like Texas Tech, get up for everything.
I think you can build for next year. I don't think you're I don't think Ole Miss is gonna travel 40,000 strong and beat down the doors to get to Houston for this game, but I don't think that they're out, and I think they get this done. And I think they
were
take
the
care of
better
business
team.
here.
Yeah,
They're a better team here. I think their defense is somehow still underrated. I think they slow down Texas Tech. I think they win this game in a close one, but I think I'll take Ole Miss -3.
Ooh, I wish I had I'm trying to pull it up, but I'm not fast enough. I wanted to pull up my hashtag stat sheet, but yeah, I wonder what if Tech's run defense. I'm not sure what Tech's body situation is. How's their run defense? How's their line of scrimmage? I don't know the answer to that. I won't lie to you listeners, but I like Tech here. I like, again, vibes only. I'm going Tech +3. Let's do it,
Brody. My next game is now. I want Brody. If you ask nicely, I like your chances to get on the field for Purdue in this game. If you're in the house. They have a new coach, no quarterback. I believe Charlie Jones is not playing.
He's not playing. Aiden O'Connell is not playing. There were two others that I forget the name of. I apologize, but
so Brody, if you just wear a Purdue shirt and show up on the sidelines,
but I went to Indiana, so
yeah, but that's a heck of
am I
a
there to
story.
sabotage it? What am I doing?
If you play against LSU in a bowl game, that's selling a lot of subs, Brody. The people are going to want to read that story.
That's a really good point. Do it for the brand, yeah. And it's there's the double narrative of I'm playing for my theoretical rival and I'm going against the team I cover.
I'd read that story, Brody. I would. I 100% would.
I mean, dude, I don't like bragging, but I did have 3.5 sacks senior year in South Jersey. I don't want to talk about it. I think they could use a 5'10" nose tackle. I believe they could.
I like it. it.
But man, I gotta say, man, I am shocked you put this at 6. I know you didn't know the Jones and maybe even the O'Connell when you originally made this list, but this should be 11th.
Here's my counter to you, bro.
Because even LSU isn't. Yeah, go on.
We're already in the dregs.
I don't agree. Oh, let's go. I don't agree. But LSU, even though they're good, are not juicy to watch. Their offense isn't I know Jane Daniels running around's awesome, but it's kind of not the most juicy offense. The things LSU does well is more being sound, and then Purdue's not even that fun to watch. That's not a fun matchup to me anyway. And nobody's playing. And the coach, LSU has a few opt-outs too, not as big, but a few. Obviously, no Jeff Brom. Yes, Drew Brees is coaching in it, which makes it kind of fun. It's fun I know this is probably inside baseball, but the biggest conspiracy theory that was almost obnoxious was how the Saints never drafted LSU players, and every LSU fan is so angry about it. What did the Saints have against LSU? And then all of a sudden, Drew Brees, first chance he can, jumps in to coach against LSU. What if I told you that Drew Brees was the one saying don't draft it? He's the one with the vendetta.
Also Drew Brees has a very recognizable throwing motion. So if we see that number 16 in Purdue helmet under the Purdue helmet again,
we would be able to notice. You would think.
I'll know. We'll know if they try to slip him in. I'm holding out, but
that would help its watchability ranking. So this is
tough. I'm not ruling it out. I think Purdue by any means necessary.
Catherine points out if Nussmeier plays, because we haven't talked to Brian Kelly in a few weeks. I don't know the Jaden Daniels situation and all that. Nussmeier would help the watchability.
The ankle was in bad shape after the SEC championship.
It was in bad shape, and there's just no real reason to play it, right? There's no reason to push it. So yes, Nussmeier would help the watchability because, to your point, so much is about the future. So much is about Nussmeier makes any bowl game fun. You let Garrett Nussmeier go run around and make some stuff happen, as we saw in Atlanta. That's fun. So I'm okay with it being in the 8th zone, but you having this at 6 is blasphemy.
I'm into it.
Terrible, terrible game.
Meanwhile, the turnover chainsaw meets the Gators.
You think this is the Dregs? This is a great game.
Well, a little bit.
You don't have to go in depth on it. It's not it's.
I'm intrigued by it. Obviously, no Anthony Richardson. We'll see what Jack Miller has to do. I think Florida's another one of those. I think what the Bulls are becoming now, for better or worse, is do we need to go to the portal exhibitions? I think you're gonna I think it's gonna be a referendum.
Ooh, that's good. That's a good outlook. Yeah.
Of okay, what do we have in this? Because you're gonna figure out a little bit of what you have. It's not gospel, but you kind of if a guy blows up in a bowl game, if Jack Miller comes out here and throws for 400 yards against Oregon State, I think Florida's we're good. Maybe we take a backup, but we're good. If he comes out here and goes 7 for 20 with 2 picks, all of a sudden. You're saying, well, there's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've talked to a bunch of coaches that are that don't need quarterbacks, and they're man, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the portal. You almost have to.
Yeah.
see what you can do because you can make your team better. That's the question you have to answer. Does this make our team better? And a lot of coaches are wondering that because there's so many good quarterbacks in the portal, and you don't know what they're looking for or what your chances are unless you try. So anyway, we'll see. I think Oregon State was one of my favorite teams to watch this year. If you are not familiar with Jack Coletto,
sweet sons, yeah,
you need to fix that. The man plays linebacker, he plays quarterback, he plays fullback. It's incredible. He's been doing this for a couple of years. Oregon State doesn't have a lot of crossover with SEC teams, but he runs very weirdly. He's just an interesting player. I feel like he's due for a big night against this. We'll call it generous Florida defense.
It's like not bad, but it just makes some horrible mistakes. Is that a good way to put it?
I think for one, I think the Oregon State Doobie Index is pretty high here. I think they're the more physical team.
Yes.
I like Oregon State minus the points.
I don't like to brag, but I did get this at 6.5 at open, and now I feel sharp.
It seems like it's moving. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but no, I get because Florida's opt-outs, all that. It's not that juicy from the Florida side, but I love this game. And because it's just I love it from the perspective of I love watching a team that is good. Kind of like Kansas State, right? They're good, but they're kind of off in the distance. You're not watching them too much. Or they're good, but they play in a conference you're not sure of how deep it is, all that stuff. And I love watching them go play an SEC team. And great, Florida's not great, so it's not that fun. But I'm just very excited to watch Oregon State, who, like you said, they're so interesting to me. I love watching them play for this because they're not big, but they're just tough.
They're tough.
There's a veracity to them.
They were kind of the antithesis of a lot of to the top of the Pac-12 this year was just bombs away. And so many points when you look at UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon, all these teams that are just oh man. And then you have Oregon who wants to grind you, or Oregon State that wants to grind you out.
And I love teams where it's
Civil War was fantastic this year. They were down what was it, 28-7, 38-7?
Something like that. It was over.
Something insane. And they rallied back to win without throwing a pass. So enjoy that.
And you and I love teams that are their offense is a spread in reality. It's a perimeter offense, but there's a physicality and run game to it. The run game is it, even though it's kind of spread out. Those are our favorite offenses. So yeah, I love this one. And also we all have our babies as writers, our ones that you wrote the story on early and you just kind of you're yeah, I kind of called that. And I wrote the feature, which I didn't do anything special, but I wrote the feature on them when they were 4-0 last year on what Jonathan Smith was doing, and it was just I'm this guy is so impressive, and I'm just
slow burn. I've liked this team. He inherited not a good situation, and
I think the only comp is the literal only comp for what he took over is probably just the post Les Miles Kansas, what Leopold doing is also amazing, but Oregon State was the consensus worst Power 5 job and program in the country when he took it. To have them here this soon is wild. So yeah, I like this one. This would be 4 or 5 for me.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one. We'll see how it goes. My number 8, I have Mississippi State in Illinois. Mississippi State obviously hired Zach Arnett as their head coach. A tragic situation. At some point, obviously, Mississippi State has to play a football game. I don't know what we're going to get out of them, that's going to look like. It's a really, really hard situation for everybody. But they do have to play football. And I don't know. They're really a wild card. I think this is a really interesting matchup. Obviously, we'll see. Has Chase Brown? I don't believe Chase Brown has said whether or not he's playing or not.
I have not read anything, but I'm Googling.
My guess is that he will, but I don't know that for a fact. Either way, there's so many opt-outs in every single bowl game. But if he plays, that's going to be a really interesting matchup. I think Mississippi State actually matches up pretty well to slow down that running game. The 3-3-5 can stop running games. And I think Mississippi State has the bodies up front to do that. So I do like Mississippi State in this ball game. So give me the Bulldogs.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think obviously there's a little bit of this game becomes more interesting because in a very, very perverted way of Leach isn't there, so it's you're interested to watch this, but also I think this is just a really fun matchup, and it does stink that Leach isn't there in so many ways. Because, like, one, it just makes who knows what Mississippi State's going to be. Also, you just want him on that sideline. You're going to be sad he's not there. But I think this is such a fun matchup because it's like Mississippi State is a physical, good football team. Zach Garnett's defenses are great, and Illinois, as we know, is one of the better defenses in the country, and they also have that great running game. If Chase Brown plays, of course. So it's I love this matchup. This is actually, again, this is why I love disagreeing with you. I put this one kind of high on my list. I don't know where exactly, but this is, I think I like what's the spread? I'm so sorry. I'm blanking on it. Or maybe there isn't one because of the weird content.
I think they may have taken it down.
Yeah, that's which is fair. I think I like Mississippi State to win here just because I like them as a football team. I just think they're a really well-rounded team. So, yeah. Go Dogs.
Next, we have Kansas and Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl. Arkansas 3-point underdogs. Listen. 3-point favorites. Listen, we may not have a more lopsided Doobie Index other than K-State, Alabama.
Yes.
Kansas, this is basically like their Super Bowl. Arkansas, they've been in the top 10 this year. They finished in sort of unimpressive fashion. Certainly losing to Mizzou was not something that they had on their vision boards at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions about Arkansas. Getting KJ Jefferson back is massive. I think when you really think about it, it makes sense. That was not something that I really expected for Arkansas. So they, certainly they can do some things next year. KJ Jefferson is a load, but give me the Jayhawks here because of the Doobie Index. Jayhawks outright.
I just love Kansas. I'll keep it simple. I just love Kansas against the Star. I think take the over in this game. I think it's 68.5, which
Kansas is going to be able to put some points up, and Kansas will put some points up in this game.
This is one of those. I like Kansas a lot against Arkansas's defense and all that. Yeah. So yeah, I'll keep it short. Yeah, but
Brody,
I'm into this game. I am.
Brody, do you know where the Gasparilla Bowl is?
It's like New Mexico.
Because I had to look it up. It is not. I had to look it up this week.
Is it El Paso?
It is somewhere even scarier. It is in the Tropicana Field in Tampa.
Okay, no world would I have guessed that.
With their weird tiger stripe turf that I hope they fixed. It's bad turf. It looks terrible on television. I don't know.
That's bad. What is Gasparilla again?
I don't know. I guess it's like sarsaparilla, but you can run a lawnmower with it. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I really want Gasparilla. Yeah, I don't know what Gasparilla is. Please educate me.
I don't know what it is. We missed the Bad Boy Mowers Bowl. I should have done my Gasparilla research in our pre-show prep, but we'll see. I believe Sam Hartman's status is still in doubt. Mizzou loses Dominic Lovett. They keep Luther Burden. That's huge for them. Lovett, a huge loss. Missouri's certainly shopping in the portal for quarterbacks. I don't think there's anything Brady Cook can do in this game to change that. Obviously Tyler Macon is gone. Brady Cook, we've seen enough from this season that, Missouri went out there last year. They were trying to get JT Daniels. They tried to get Jaden Daniels. They ended up getting Jack Abraham, who wasn't really a factor this year. So ultimately, this is just a total coin flip. If Sam Hartman plays, which I'm skeptical that he will, I like Wake Forest in this. Missouri just has not, they haven't done a ton to really impress you this year. So we'll see. But I think it comes down to Sam Hartman. If he does not play, give me the Tigers. I think they can slow down Wake Forest's offense. If he does, I'm taking the Demon Deacons.
See, yeah, okay. First off, before I review, our lovely producer John came in with some details for us. Gasparilla is okay since 19. We have to move this up our rankings for reasons that will be clear in a second.
Okay.
Since 1905, pirates have invaded Tampa Bay. Every year, the unruly plunderers take over the city in honor of the mythical, legendary pirate Jose Gaspar. So it's like a pirate fest. And obviously, with Mike Leach's unfortunate departure, I think we have to give more love to basically the Pirate Bowl. So
we didn't know in the Mississippi State bowl matchup that they are playing in Raymond James Stadium, which does have a literal pirate ship.
This is getting good. Yeah, okay. We got some good pirate content this year. Sword, baby. But yeah, Missouri. I'm looking forward. I like bowls also when it's like two teams that feel like they're just kind of vaguely on the similar similar level, and this feels like one of those
colors also, which doesn't help.
Oh, I don't know that. But yeah, like Missouri's like the best team that can't win a game. Like they are a solid football team. Like they're in every single game. That defense's metrics are very good this year. Blake
Up
Baker,
10 on Georgia in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, like
hang a banner, guys. If Georgia wins the national championship, like that was impressive.
Have you ever seen the like meme of Lee Corso when they were like beating Ohio State, I think it was, in Indiana, like in the first half? He stopped the team in a timeout and had them all turn around and point at the scoreboard to like enjoy it and like take it in, which is the most Indiana football thing ever, right? But that's
not great.
But yeah, so I want to see Missouri here. Like it's not like, this is probably the least interesting game. I think it's fair to say, but I like Missouri here. I want to watch.
Brody, Sicko's Bowl of the Century.
So I can't believe you put this last. I can't believe
they did this. Listen.
You're really telling me you're not excited to watch this.
Everybody will get hyped for this game, and then they'll start watching it, and then they will stop watching it.
Okay, this is actually a discussion I think we should have where we're wrapping up the show, obviously.
I can't believe
when you're watching those Thursday night NFL games, like the Broncos one.
I don't watch the Thursday night NFL games. I have too much self-respect.
See, okay, this is the discussion we're having. Like when you're watching like those terrible games, and there's a lot of for reference, a lot of bad Thursday night games lately. I think it was Broncos Colts was the ugly one. Like you're like not happy watching that. Like, are you like annoyed when you watch games like that? You're just like, this is bad.
So that's sort of not the best example because bad NFL football kind of sucks. Bad college football is usually fun because it's like I watched a lot of Iowa football this year, mostly just out of morbid curiosity. But man, it's not even so like you just all of the stuff together. Okay, you have all the opt-outs. Kentucky is missing a bunch of players. Iowa's missing a bunch of players. All of that stuff. We don't get to see their new quarterback, Cade McNamara, come in there and do anything for them. Which talking a big game, by the way. I don't know if you saw this. I know
if this was like a midseason pod.
I was kind of like. Boy, that quote, you better get it done, or that quote's going to be spicy come October.
But that's what they need, man. They need like that cocky oomph.
I guess. They need some oomph. I guess. At the end of the day, again, I keep coming back to it's a results business, and you got to do something. We'll see.
I bet on if there's anything I learned from covering Joe Burrow, it's bet on irrational confidence. You're going to miss. You're going to be wrong 4 to 10 times completely, but I bet on the guy with irrational confidence
I think,
every time.
So Iowa's offensive issues partly personnel. I do think they're scheme more than personnel.
Yeah.
But I don't think bringing in, Eric All and bringing in Cade McNamara like fixes that much. I think they're probably not like awful or just like but the over-under in this game is, I believe, at 31.5, if I'm not mistaken, which is like, come on.
Dude,
so,
I'm so excited.
Again, we saw this last year. I can't believe they did this, Brody. I can't believe they did this
knew
for
what
Nashville.
They literally were doing the Sickos Bowl thing. I think they knew.
I guess Kentucky fans will show up to this. I don't know why. It's not going to be particularly warm in Nashville, I have to assume. Iowa fans are not going to travel to this game. If they do, I mean, that's true Sickos behavior. Like, this is just going to be ugly football in probably like a gray, like spitting rain kind of day.
They should put the Frank Beamer celebrating the 0-0 tie thing at midfield. Like make that the midfield logo.
Now, if they do that, I'll watch. If they give me that, I really think
they need to lean into the bit, because the key with a good ugly football game isn't that they're running the ball up the middle and no, it needs to be like you're trying and you're just failing. I think this is like. I don't know how high I'm putting this. I am so excited for this football game.
I saw Frank Beamer in Vegas. I should have asked him about it in retrospect.
What are your thoughts on watching Iowa football this year?
Yeah. Exactly. So listen, I don't think anybody is actually going to want to watch this game. I have to look at the dates. Aren't there also 2 other games on? If this was a game that was like a Tuesday night, like some of the G5 Bowls are, like a Tuesday night at like 7:30, I probably would watch this game. But I think they're running up against other
DVRing it, baby. I can't wait. And for the record, I'm taking Iowa.
Now listen, when you press DVR, I hope your DVR button makes
it's like, are you sure?
Are you sure? Yes. I hope they make you say that twice, because they should know better than this.
Now, like, what would be the right drink for a game like this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, say hypothetically, I'm probably working, but like, if I'm drinking, like, is this a beer game? Is this a liquor game? Is this a wine game? I don't know.
I mean, it feels like just pure Everclear. I think. Like,
See,
get
no,
some of that,
Everclear is a shootout.
mix-
I think
mix it with
Everclear is a
rubbing
no
alcohol and roll
defense
with it.
game. Everclear is Kansas, Arkansas. Kansas, Arkansas is Everclear. I think this is
Pond water.
Yeah, this is what's that? I think it's called a Jersey Turnpike. The shot, like that's like a joke shot where like the bartender squeezes the juices out of the bar mat into a glass. That's
There is a pond over the fence of my backyard. I'll go out there and I'll scoop my cup for that game, and I will have it setting down and get ready to watch this ball game.
Embrace the bat, guys. Come on, this is why we love college.
Oh man, here's the thing.
Busch Light is the official beer of Iowa, as Vaughn says. That's not a bad
I would
point.
agree with you, but also we saw this last year, and we don't get to see Will Levis and his howitzer tear a hole in some Iowa linebacker's chest, so we don't get to see that.
It's true.
I mean, who is even going to start for Kentucky in this ball game?
I don't know. That's the fun of it, man.
No
Barry
Chris
and Brown.
Rodriguez also. Yeah,
Let
put
Barry
Barry
and
and
Brown
Brown back there.
Do the John Shea Kirkland. Yeah, just let him go. Yeah.
Either way, we'll see how it goes. But thank you guys for tuning in.
Great comment work today, guys. You guys really thrived. Brought your bowl game.
A lot of comments today. Also,
energy.
Brody, our intrepid producer John notes that this game is up against the Sugar Bowl. So you're gonna say no to Alabama and Kansas State in favor of
I have a 2 TV set up in my office. Okay, I think that's fair, right?
I think there's another game also, if I'm not mistaken. So
the laptop will come out then. I don't know.
You have to be on your phone or something along those lines. I will be back. I come back from the Sugar Bowl early the morning of New Year's Eve, or from the Orange Bowl the morning of New Year's Eve. So hopefully I can get back in time to watch the Sugar Bowl and not the Music City Bowl. Oof. Yikes. But thank you guys for listening, interacting. It's been fun. It's been quite a season, Brody. We'll have to see when our next show is. We're not going to do them quite as regularly because we're not in the season anymore, but we'll pop in. We're doing a show I'll be at the Orange Bowl. We're going to do one when I'm there.
Okay.
Brody, you're going to LSU's bowl game, are you?
I will be at the Citrus Bowl, yes.
The Citrus Bowl. All right. So we'll both be in the state of Florida. That's nice.
Yeah.
Orlando is a long ways from Miami.
No, use Dixie Cups. Yeah.
But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Football Grits all year. We'll have another show in the middle of bowl season, closer to New Year's, and then after that, we'll have to see. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been fun. Appreciate all you guys' comments and reading them. It was very, very entertaining. So thanks to you guys. And if you didn't catch the whole show, it'll be up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your podcast purveyor of choice very, very soon. So thank you guys again. Football and pork tenderloin for Brody Miller from the state of Indiana. Briefly. And for the rest of us, I'm David Oven. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys again later this month.